We're here today with Connor Perry. Connor is a Arizona native, living down in New Zealand full time now. Connor, you first went overseas in, what was it, 2019 to play
2018.
with the Bayside Wolves down in New Zealand. Is that right?
Yeah, that was my first overseas experience. Was coming down here in October of 2018 for that winter season. It was weird leaving the States for the first time at that point.
So that was your first time outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, I'd never left. Literally got a passport like in probably April or May of 2018 for the first time, and first time out was like go almost as far as away from home as I could.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, all the way across. Nice. And now, I mean, it looks like you're calling New Zealand home, but I mean, you also had a stint in Germany. You also signed to play with the Adnang Athletics in Austria until COVID hit, so that didn't work out. But you've built a life living in New Zealand. You met your wife, building a family out there. You qualified for New Zealand citizenship. So I'm really interested to hear your your perspective of like moving overseas, living in New Zealand, kind of, and then just kind of immersing yourself in that culture and obviously loving it enough to kind of build a life there. But before we do that, for our listeners who don't know you yet, can you give us a kind of a quick backstory of where you're from and how like baseball became such a big part of your life?
Yeah, so I grew up out in Arizona, small town, Santan Valley. Like back at the time, maybe 100-ish thousand people throughout the entire place. Um, I'd always kind of played baseball with my friends growing up, but it wasn't like my main sport was like soccer, or cross country or something. And baseball was just something I did because it was fun. But probably around 15, 16, I really started to like, I don't know what caused it. Maybe it was just playing it so off, like for so long at that point. I just really started to fall in love with baseball. And I think that fall, like I got some varsity experience and stuff and played against guys who were getting drafted and stuff because Arizona's the old hotbed of baseball talent. So it was just seeing that and going, man, kind of want to be like up to that level or like want to get to there at some point in my life. So I don't even know. I just kind of kept falling in love more and more. You play, and just how baseball is weird that way, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I didn't stop till I was 40 in my 40s. So it's a game that you fall in love with and you have a relationship with your whole life.
And you went to NAIA college, played a presentation. It looks like you got a ton of innings there, through almost 200 innings, and played well. And did you have any opportunities out of college to continue playing in the States?
Right out of college, I got invited to the NAIA Midwest Showcase or something. Bellevue University hosts it every year. Got to throw in front of some scouts. Nothing came from that. And then I got invited to a regional showcase in Yankton, South Dakota with the Mets. Scout liked me a little bit, but I didn't throw very hard back then. I was like 83 to 85 probably at 21. I just spun a decent curveball. And so he was like, oh yeah, like if I see you around and stuff at any of the games I'm attending, like I'll keep in touch or whatever. And nothing came out of there. And then I had one invite tryout with the Rockland Boulders. Threw really well and punched out, I think, all 5 guys I faced. And then some dude from Kentucky rolled up, came out like 96, 97, punched out all 5 while throwing that hard. And I was like, well, it was a good try. They only really had one spot. So at that point, I was like, all right, time to I'd already committed to coming out to New Zealand that winter. I was like, I'm already sorted anyway. I'm not too worried.
So how did you first hear about playing overseas and BBJO? Like, did you hear about it from like a teammate or a friend? Did you find BBJO like online? How did that come about?
I had, what was it, like the bus ride home from the conference tournament my junior year. A couple of the seniors were talking about like playing overseas and stuff, like wanting to go do that. But like the most I knew was like Japan at that point. And so I just was like, oh yeah, and just kind of blew it off. And then I was playing summer ball out in Kansas. And when you're playing summer ball away from home, there's not a whole lot to do if you're not hanging out with the guys or anything. So you're just sitting there on your phone half the time. And I was like, what opportunities actually are there overseas with baseball? And I just Googled overseas baseball. And the first thing that came up was BBJO. And then I think if I scrolled a little bit, it showed the Globetrotters videos, like the really old, like the original ones. And so I started watching those, and like obviously your video was like one of the first ones I saw of you in Australia.
When Jimmy was a YouTube star back then.
Yeah, back when Jimmy was Mr. Influencer.
Yeah.
And it
I
made me
hated
go,
that
man,
so
that looks
much.
awesome.
I hated being on camera, and just like, oh, it was rough because Dave would always ask me to take these videos, and then I'd like sit there and I'm like, no, it was terrible. And I take like 30 takes of something, and I'm just like, I am not meant for this.
You're
The
just too humble
Globetrotters
of a
videos
guy.
ended up turning out okay, like, but it's cool to look back on. But I just like making those videos. I hated.
You're just too humble of a guy. They were good. They inspired me. They were like part of the reason I was like, man, I want to go play overseas. And then once I did that, I saw that. So then as I got later into my senior year, I was just like, all right, I'll go and sign up for BBJO and see what happens.
What was that experience at the beginning? Were you getting offers pretty quickly, or was there a little bit of a time period there where you weren't getting any offers? How did that come about? Did you get multiple offers? Usually pitchers often will get multiple offers.
Yeah, the first offer I got was actually a.
This episode is brought to you by the Japan Winter League. The Japan Winter League runs from mid-November to mid-December. There's scouts from all levels of Japanese baseball, from the independent leagues like the Hokkaido Frontier League, the Shikoku Island League, the BC League, the Kansai League, the Kyushu League, through the industrial leagues all the way up to the NPB. All of the games will be live streamed using TrackMan data, so every pitch will have pitch speed, vertical break, horizontal break. Batted balls will have exit velocity, projected distance. It's a great way to showcase yourself to scouts and coaches from not just in Japan, but outside of Japan as well. The Japan Winter League is split up into two separate leagues. There will be the Advanced League, which is meant more for high-level professional players. The NPB actually sends a lot of their minor leaguers down there to get some extra games in the off-season. And then there's also the Tryout League, which is meant for amateur players, but there's opportunities to get signed out of both leagues, regardless of which one you end up in. If you're interested in joining the Japan Winter League, register at japanleague.co.jp and be sure to use the code BBJO2026 to get a discount.
Coaching opportunity out in China at an academy, thinking like Suzhou or something.
Yep.
And they were like the first one. The guy was like super in contact. So initially, I think that was probably like March or April. And so graduating in May, and he was like, yeah, you'd come out in like June or July. And I was just like, oh, cool. Like, this is super easy. Onto it. I was hearing from him constantly. So that was like my first thing that I was going to go do. And then I reached out to some clubs in Aussie and New Zealand. And I reached out to Bayside, and the head coach, Pinky, who would end up becoming, he's one of my best friends, was the best man at my wedding, was like super responsive. Was like, yeah, man, I'll get you a place to stay. Like, you can do some work for me here at the field house and stuff for like money and everything. Like, you'll be sorted. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. Like, that New Zealand sounds a lot better than going to China right now. Like, China sounds cool, but I like knew about New Zealand. I was like, I like beaches and going around and enjoying the sun. So I was like, that sounds probably the better option at the moment. I didn't really want to not finish playing, but put a pause on playing at that point in my career. So
especially a guy coming from a town of 100, and the culture shock to go to China compared to New Zealand would be a little bit of a smoother landing, I would say.
Yeah, New Zealand's, you get like Auckland. Jimmy will know. It's like calls itself the super city, but I think it was like 1 point something million people here in Auckland, and it's still really slow vibe compared to any other city you're going to be in the U.S. Like, even playing college ball in Aberdeen, South Dakota, with like 26,000 people, that had a faster vibe than all of New Zealand does.
New Zealand is so amazing. I mean, there's 10 times more sheep than people, and like geographically, it's just so gorgeous. Like, you have the fjords, you have the mountains, you have the beaches, you have the rainforest. Like, you can see so much within like such a little amount of time. Like, you can be down on the beach and like look up at a glacier, like on the mountains, and it's just it's unreal. Like, the travel aspect and the off the field like experience that you get from playing and living in New Zealand.
Hey, Connor.
Yeah.
Can you tell me your thoughts at that time, and can you go back to that time when you were like packing your bag and you're getting ready to hop on a plane to go halfway across the world? What was your mindset back then, and can you go back to then and just tell us a little bit about your feelings as you were heading over to New Zealand?
Yeah, I was so stressed out. I was trying to pack my bag and I was so stressed, like just the small things, just packing for like the weight. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get turned away because of the weight of my bag or whatever. Like I was so, my mom was like having to like, Connor, just chill. It's going to be fine. We'll sort it out. And then I got to the ticket booth or whatever. And because your passport and ticket and New Zealand's really strict on immigration stuff. The ticket didn't perfectly match, the name, because my dad had booked it. It was like a graduation gift was my flight to New Zealand. And so he booked it and he forgot to include my middle name on the ticket, whereas my passport says my middle name on it. And they're like, oh, we can't. And I was like, it became this whole ordeal at like 3:30 in the morning or something that I was just not mentally or like even physically prepared for at that time. And it was, but like as soon as I got on that plane, it was like every fear left. And then it was quick stopover in Hawaii and then 6 hours. And next thing you know, you're in New Zealand at midnight. And I'm like, oh, this is different. Like just the walking through the gateway there when you first fly in through the domestic or the international terminal. There's like some dude singing now I know it as a karakia out there, but I was not ready for that. And I was like, what is this language? Like I had no idea what te reo was coming into New Zealand. And it was just a surreal moment.
And how was it when you first kind of got into New Zealand? Obviously, I'm sure like Pinky probably picked you up from the airport. I'm guessing. And then like getting settled in with the team, working at the field house, like how was that transition kind of living in a new country for the first time? And like what were your kind of feelings around that?
So it was actually my host family picked me up from the airport since I was staying with them. And it was midnight. And like the first feeling around being in New Zealand was, holy shit, we're on the other side of the road. This is, and I honestly thought we were going to have a crash my first night there. I was like, oh my God, there's headlights coming right at us. They're on the wrong side. We're on the wrong side. Something's going to happen. And it took me probably like weeks to get used to that. But now the next day I had to get up at like 6 a.m. to go up to Orewa for the Memorial Day tournament or whatever it was at that time, Labor Day tournaments maybe. And I met Pinky up there for the first time, and it was like instantly I was like, you could just tell he was like a cool dude, and it was like super easy and relaxed. Then I met Duncan, and he was super like chill and just, Duncan, he just laughs and stuff and just is always trying to have a good time. And then I meet the team later that night. We had like a session at the field house, and it was like all the dudes were just like the friendliest guys, just there because they love baseball and hang out and still want to like be competitive or whatever.
And when you first went overseas to New Zealand, was it your plan just to do like, maybe that winter and then a summer and then call it a career? Or what was your mindset at that time in terms of your future in baseball?
I was planning on honestly, I was like, I'm going to do it till I'm like 30 or my arm falls off was my whole thought process. I was like, I want to get out and just see the world that I haven't gotten to see for the past 22 years. And I was like, there was so much because once I've decide I want to do something, I get like full into it. And it's probably a little bit of my ADHD that makes me just go, I got to know everything about this thing that I'm now like totally all for. So I was like looking up all the leagues and looking at all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I want to do this, this, and this, and this, and setting these lists of goals that I wanted to accomplish overseas, places I wanted to visit and everything. So I was like, and I also thought this is a great way to build up like a coaching resume and stuff before coming back and coaching like at the college level or something in the States. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this for a while. Sorry,
okay. So that didn't pan out.
No. Plans, fortunately, I should say, changed for the better, I guess, in my case.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like you were one of the first imports, I think, in New Zealand. I think 2018, 19. I think Michael Gonzalez was also there.
Yeah, Michael and Marcus Fukuhara.
Yeah, and yep. And how was baseball as an import in New Zealand that first year? Like, what was the competition level like? What was the on field, off field schedule? Like, what were you doing, especially that first year? Because I'm sure you didn't really have like a full-time job yet, aside from working at the field house with Pinky. Yeah. So what was your day-to-day like that first year?
Yeah. So we trained like 2 days a week for two and a half, Tuesday, Thursdays, in the evenings, game day on Sunday, and then I would coach like a junior grade on Saturdays. But our field, so that year, the field that you got to see us play on, we weren't allowed to play on it because we didn't have the netting that we ended up having. So we had to build a field a little bit further into the reserve. And the week before the season, the council had just dumped this pile of dirt out where the mound was meant to be and just said, you guys have to build your mound. So we built this absolute atrocity of a mound between me, Pinky, and a couple of the other guys. And this mound ended up being like, it was probably 2 feet tall. Like, it was a mountain. So it was like advantage 6'4" lefty, just coming down that thing. But it was stupid, and it was the funniest thing to do. And then because there's no a lot of the teams didn't have fences at the time, or like permanent fences, so it was the first time I'm like having to set up a fence before a game or anything. So it was like such a different experience. And then there's like the dugout was literally a couple tents and some benches set up. And then at one point after the game, we're in a team meeting and I hear this like sound. It sounds like rain hitting leather. And some dude's dog had ran over and peed on my glove after my first game in the country. And everyone just looked at me and goes, welcome to New Zealand. You're really a part of it now. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a welcome.
So how did you handle this new environment? Like this is obviously a completely different baseball environment. So did part of you think like, what the hell did I get myself into? Or were you like, this is cool, this is different, and dive right in? Like, what was your kind of approach right there in your mindset?
Yeah, I was just fully into it. Like, I'm always just someone who just kind of goes with it. So I just went with it. And I think that was the best thing I did, was not be like coming with any sort of expectation. Because like Pinky had told me, Nevis goes, baseball is grassroots here. And I was like, cool, I'm all for it. Like, I want to experience what it's like in different countries and everything. Like, I know what it's like here. It's cutthroat. I want to have fun and just like get into that fun aspect of baseball again. And I think that was probably like the biggest thing with being in New Zealand, is it made me fall in love with just having fun again. It wasn't about always winning or being the best stats or whatever. It was just having fun playing the game we remember as like little kids.
That was the cool thing I found about New Zealand too. Like, of course, it's not as like professional as a lot of other leagues, but in terms of like guys going out there just enjoying their time, like it kind of is like hobby baseball for a lot of people. I mean, because you only play one game a week, you practice twice a week, so there's a lot of downtime, a lot of time to see the country. But for someone who wants to go over and kind of really make an impact, that's kind of the perfect spot, because I mean there's some really talented and athletic people down there. I mean baseball is still fairly new in New Zealand. Like, they've been playing softball forever, and there's a lot of great softball players, but the transition from softball to baseball is quite big. And now there's like a generation of players coming up in New Zealand who played baseball like from when they were like really young. And I know there's some players who are playing in college now, and there's a couple guys on the national team who played pro ball, like Elliot Johnston, and there's a good group of like really competitive. I mean, Pinky was, I think he's retired a few times, and then he just kind of like canceled his
he's come back again
to go play with the Tuatara and kill it. I think he like almost led the league in hitting that year.
Yeah, he had an awesome year that year.
Yeah, and I heard he retired again, but then kind of canceled his retirement to come back with the national team.
Yeah, he retired at the end of the national tournament, in April this year. And then once the Diamond Black trip at the end of the year was announced, it was like, oh, I'm in a lot better shape and everything now. Like, I kind of want to do it again. And so he's back out playing again. And he's like, he's 36 now. I know one of his goals, he wants to play prims with one of his kids one day. So the oldest is like 10 now. So he's got a little while to wait. So
yeah, I remember when I was there, they were like 4 or 5 years old, but they could rake. They had such a good swing, and they'd be in the field house just taking swings off the tee, or Pinky just throwing the ball to them, and they're going to be good ball players.
I get all that too I hung on to play with my kid, and that's one of the beauties of overseas is like, depending on the league, but like a league like Austria or like in New Zealand, someone like me into my 40s can still compete with the young guys, and so it was cool to be able to hang on and play with my kid, and I can understand why Pinky wants to do that. If you can still swing it a bit and run a bit without getting injured, then why not keep at it? So, but I wanted to hear a little bit about, obviously you've been living there quite a while, but if you can kind of think back to when you weren't a resident and you were an import, what was the lifestyle like given all that downtime and everything? Did you do a lot of traveling and exploring New Zealand? And maybe you can just kind of explain what it's like for somebody that's never been to New Zealand and what the lifestyle might be like.
Yeah, that's because we had so much, like at least 3 days a week where you just had nothing to do. So I was like, for me, I stayed around Auckland a lot and just explored around here. Just because in the city, like there's so much random stuff that you can run into. And then just all the different beaches and different like hikes just around Auckland, because there's so much. I feel like I always describe New Zealand as built around the nature rather than over the top of it, because it's like I can walk 10 minutes from my house and there'll be some sort of like quiet nature walk not far from here. And so if you love nature, it's like the perfect spot for an import to just go. And if you love to get lost in the woods or on a beach, it's like amazing. And then we got a pretty long break in December. It's a little shorter this year. But usually you get like close to a month, maybe 5 weeks off from December to January. So during that time, like I did some travel down to Wellington. I caught the Northern Explorer or something is the train, and you just take this 11-hour train ride that goes through like some of the most scenic spots through New Zealand, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I would 100% do it again rather than fly if like I didn't have to go see family or something down there. But it's so beautiful. You see all these different waterfalls, go like through some mountains and everything. Stop by National Park and everything. So if you want to go do the Tongariro crossing, you could hop off there and go do the crossing, which is like a super famous, massive hike that'll take a lot out of you, but it's like one of the most rewarding places to go for a hike. And then getting to Wellington is awesome, amazing city. You have to go, especially if you're like a craft beer fan. I think it got listed as like a top 50 city in the world for it. And they have different like tours and stuff you can do around it. It's such a cool spot to be.
I think New Zealand was probably one of my favorite countries to visit. Like I remember, because we had so much downtime when I was there, like, and the Welts, like when I was playing with Waitakere, they took such good care of me, and they gave me this like Mitsubishi Outlander where the seats would lay down in the back, and I could throw a mattress back there. And I bought this little like car tent where I can open the trunk and just put a tent around the back, and then I just I went everywhere, because I mean I was only there for 1 season and for 6 months. So like within that short amount of time, every off day I'd either go to like Piha or Bethel's or Mudawai or up to Cape Ranga. One of my teammates had a little shipping container house up on Matai Bay, up on the northern part of the North Island.
That's right. Yeah.
Then went down, did that Tongariro Alpine crossing where you see like Mount Doom and stuff like that from Lord of the Rings, and where that was filmed. And then down through the South Island and like Milford Sound, Fiordland National Park, Queenstown. Like it's just, there's so much to see. And like 6 months, I saw probably more than most people see in 6 months, but there was still so much more that I didn't get to see that I wanted to. And it was just, yeah. You're a lucky guy for being able to live there.
I still need to go out and see more. I don't appreciate enough living here, but I do need to get out, especially the South Island. I haven't explored enough.
South Island is amazing. Definitely have to.
That's what happens when you live somewhere is you take it for granted a little bit, and it's just not natural. But I've been living in Austria for 20 years, and there's certain things that I love about Austria that is just different and culturally different. And then, so are there some things in New Zealand where it's just like things that they do there or customs they have or that's just completely different from where you're from and that you enjoy? Or like the haka, for example, did you learn?
I mean, yeah, the haka is cool. It's something like a good haka is I don't know how to describe. You definitely get goosebumps no matter what when a good, like when the All Blacks do it, of course, but like, or when there's some meaning behind it. Like I've been working as a teacher, and I had students at the end of my student teaching practice when I was leaving a school. Like they came up and did a haka for me, and that was like, it's like such, because it's such a sign of respect and everything. So like to get people to do that out here, which is really cool. New Zealand's like, because in the probably really good with like native culture. Like you can go and experience native culture all around, the Maori culture and stuff. And it's really like, I think it's part of a proud New Zealand culture and heritage, which is a bit different than I think some places are in the world and everything. Because it's just a part of who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. They're super proud people. Yeah. No, that's cool. So at what point did you meet your wife?
We matched on Tinder within me being here for a week. And then it would have been like within 2 weeks of talking to each other on there. We went on our first date, which is nearly the anniversary of, because I just remember because our first date was Guy Fawkes Day. And so we like to make a joke about it because I was just supposed to be here for the summer, and I was fully intending on probably not coming back after that, like when I first got here. And she had just gotten out of a long-term relationship a few months before that. We were supposed to be each other's perfect summer flings. And now we're just a really long, really expensive summer fling later. But yeah, it was like a week within being in New Zealand, I'd already matched with her and we were talking, and then first date, and I officially asked her out, as she always gives me grief, a week before I left for Germany. So she always has that over me.
But an interesting holiday, Guy Fawkes, is crazy. I don't want to just kind of jump over that. Dave, do you know what Guy Fawkes Day is?
No, I didn't follow that. I was like, okay, should I know that?
It's this crazy New Zealand holiday that I'll let Connor explain because he probably knows more about it than I do. But yeah, Connor, what is it?
So basically, this dude went to try to blow up Parliament and failed. And so now to celebrate it, we just shoot off fireworks. And it's like the only day it's like leading up to it that week is like one of the few legal times you can buy fireworks in New Zealand. So to celebrate a guy failing to blow up Parliament, we set off explosives since he couldn't.
Don't you like set off the explosives like off of like a little like dummy? I know like some people do, and like
some people do, like the extreme ones. Yeah,
it's like this crazy, gruesome like holiday, but it's celebrating the fact. Yeah, but it's interesting, very interesting.
It usually results in at least one of the mounts around your area probably catching fire because some kids have snuck up and are setting fireworks off from the grass, which is always nice to see, but it's become a tradition almost.
If it's anything like here in Austria, like where it's just like New Year's Eve, like there's like no laws. Like there's just fireworks going off everywhere. Where like back in Canada, it's like very controlled, and there's a lot of laws around it. So I can imagine something like that where it's just like the sky's lit and there's just people firing them everywhere.
Pretty much, it is just like constant fireworks on that night.
That's pretty cool.
So I'd like to get back to baseball here a little bit, and I want to talk about your experience in Germany and everything. But before I do that, I'd like to ask you about your time with Tuatara, which was kind of short-lived just because, the Tuatara ended up kind of folding shortly after that because of COVID. but for those of you who don't know who the Tuatara are, they were an expansion team from the Australian Baseball League, the ABL, the professional league there, and they played for, I think it was like 4 years. They were kind of
active for 5 because we had the 2 that we missed due to COVID.
True, yeah, but they were kind of formed by Ryan Flynn, I think, originally, and you didn't get on there your first 2 years, but eventually you did end up making your way onto that team after you just dominated the New Zealand League. I think you broke the strikeout record your first year there, and then you got on with the
Then you
Tuatara.
broke my record the next year, yeah.
Sorry.
Can you say that again? Because I'm worried that listeners didn't hear because of the overlap, and I want them to hear that.
Jimmy broke my record that I set my first year. He broke it immediately in the second year, and it was probably the best pitching race that's been in this country since. Like, it was just every week one of us was taking the lead over the other, and it literally came down to the last week. And I think Jimmy beat me by like 6 or something, and it was probably the most fun I've had competing with someone just across the league.
But that was really fun. I mean, like, we had some good competitions whenever we got to play each other. Like, that was always a lot of fun. The games against like you and Pinky and Duncan with Bayside, like, you guys have a good club there. And then the games against North Shore. I think my first outing against North Shore, they lit me up. I think they scored like 10 runs off me or something. And thankfully I settled in a little bit after that. But yeah, so I'd like to hear a little bit about your experience with the Tuatara. As like the first and only professional baseball team in New Zealand, and you getting on with them. How was that experience like?
Yeah, it was a great experience. The guys in the team were really cool. Half the team was English speaking, and then the other half were a lot of Taiwanese and Japanese players that we brought in just because of the way the point system worked in the ABL at the time. But like, everyone got on. The team was like, it was like a big family, honestly, like, especially the pitching staff. Like, those guys were really cool. Like, we got a decent support. We didn't get, I know the year you were out here, we were getting like tons of fans out there at those games. We didn't get quite that amount. I think it was just due to the first year being back post-COVID and everything. But we'd still have, like, it was easily still a few hundred fans and stuff at North Harbor, which was good to see, like, people coming out and supporting baseball still. And it was a good time. Like, I got to pitch against Adelaide in my debut, who would win the league that year for the first time ever. And the Brisbane Bandits, and Donald Lutz hit a ball off me that probably still hasn't landed yet. And I was just like, it was like cool getting to play against guys who'd played in the big leagues with Lutzy. I played with Zue Lin, who was like a former top prospect for the Red Sox and had played parts of like 6 or 8 years. Playing against, there was a guy, Daikon Yo, who had played in the NPB for years and years. So it was like being in the same league as guys who've done that for a kid who threw like 78 coming out of high school and put up like a 5 ERA in his career in the NAIA was probably more than I ever could have really asked for at that point.
But I mean, a lot of guys, I think, can relate to maybe being like late bloomers where, like maybe in college, you're still really young, like you graduate and you're still like 20 years old. You're not even close to your peak athletically. And there's so many guys who maybe don't get the experience that they need in order to really like thrive through college, just because, maybe their college team is stacked and they just don't get the playing time. But then once you get on with the team where you can really play and get that playing time and experience to really grow, it seems like you were one of those, to where like you went over to New Zealand, you got a ton of playing time, you threw a lot of innings, and you put up some great numbers. And it seems like you got a lot better as you matured compared to when you were in college.
Yeah, for sure. It was getting the innings in there, and then just getting to figure out who I was and who I needed to be as a pitcher and everything. I think overseas really allowed me to do that. Someone's shooting off fireworks right now. But yeah, just going, like, it just helped me find who I needed to be and like the best part about overseas, you're pitching once a week. It's an every 7-day thing. So you can bust your ass for 5 days in the weight room and throwing and everything and still be ready to pitch on that 7th day. So you can easily still develop while you're playing overseas.
That's true. We've had a lot of guys kind of go that route. Like Caleb Bowman's the perfect example of that, who we've talked about a lot, who kind of used his time in Germany and Australia and Canada to really like train and get better, while at the same time, getting that in-game experience and putting up monster numbers to kind of work your way back into affiliated ball. I mean, it helps that, he went from upper 80s touching 90 up to mid 90s. That helps, especially when you're yeah. But yeah, that's awesome to hear. And now it sounds like you're eligible for your New Zealand citizenship here soon. And it sounds like you'll have a chance to get on with the New Zealand national team and represent New Zealand like as a player, which is awesome. What is that process like to get your New Zealand citizenship? Do you have to like live there for a certain amount of years and have residence there, or what is that like?
Yeah, so I got lucky that obviously Ashley is a New Zealand citizen, so she's able to sponsor my visa, and it made getting residency a hell of a lot easier than it is. I think if you don't have a partner, you have to make like a ridiculous sum of money or something to contribute to the country. So it was a lot easier for me, but it was still a really long process just to get that visa. Like we had to download like 3 years of Facebook Messenger chats and everything and submit that for them to comb through, get people to write like address stuff to us at our engagement party because they needed proof that we lived together and stuff. It was ridiculous. But then once I got my residency, you have to hold it for 5 years before you can apply for citizenship. So I got it in 2021, March. But when you first get it, it's like it can expire at some point if you leave the country past a certain date. So I was like, okay, can't leave. And then you just go, okay, I haven't left the country. And they go, okay, cool, here's your permanent residence. So that was a lot easier to get. But it has been a very long process, and I'm looking forward to the process of just getting my citizenship and getting that sorted.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, because I know you're going to be traveling with the New Zealand national team to have a series against the Melbourne Aces here in December.
Yeah, I think I've been officially put on the roster.
We don't want to gloss over it too much, but we don't want to keep you too long either. But we should touch on your experience in Germany a little bit, because you had these big plans of traveling the world and seeing all these different countries, and it did expand a little bit. But you met your wife, and I believe she joined you for at least a bit of the German experience. So maybe you could just tell us how that opportunity came about, a little bit about just playing for Baldham and how that experience was.
Yeah, actually, it's a lot thanks to you guys with your the scouting service you do for clubs. John Furbach, the president at the time, I think went through you guys to scouting service to get a list of guys who would match the criteria he was looking for. And my name was on that list. So he reached out, and we just had a few interviews over a few months and everything and chatting. And then like, once he got to know me well enough, he was like, yeah, I'm happy to bring you on board. You'll be like a pitcher and assistant coach. Cause we also brought out Sam Siddle as well. He was the head coach for the first team. And so it was like, this way he could be like, he didn't want Sam to have to worry about pitching and managing the game at the same time. So like, I'll bring out a pitcher for you. And that ended up being like such an amazing experience. Just like the guys in the team were amazing, but like, it was my first time actually having another import on the team with me. So it was nice to like, just go out and do stuff with Sam and everything. Like we went out to the nightclubs a fair few times. And that dude is, man, he's a loose cannon once you start drinking a little bit. He's a crazy dude. He's a good time. So much stuff I probably can't say on here. I
can imagine. I've met Sam, and I've spoken with him. I think we even had a podcast interview at one point, and I can get the feel. And he's a Canadian, like crazy Canadian.
Yeah, one of the countrymen.
How was it living in Munich? Because that's like, again, a very different lifestyle and culture compared to Arizona and New Zealand. So, I mean, you had 6 months roughly in Munich in Germany. And how was that? Like, did you get to go to like Oktoberfest or anything like that, or do any of the traditional German stuff?
Yeah, so I got to do Volksfest as well because the club was obviously part of Baldham, so we went through the whole like parade and everything. So I got to be a part of the parade. Um, Not my finest moment. I think I vomited during the parade from some shots that they kept handing out shots on the side of the road. But it was just like I was like, where else in the world am I going to be doing shots on the side, walking in a parade in a town in Germany? Like, who else is going to have these kind of experiences? But then I went to Oktoberfest a few times, once on the opening day with a few of the guys from the team, and then another couple times with Sam, I think, Ryan, and I just remember at one point we all got like into, I don't know, like a third or fourth beer tent of the day, and we just lost them. And we're like, well, that's where they're gone for forever. And then Will Nauman's was out there as well and met us.
Well,
Ryan Hooper.
Ryan Hooper, yeah, yes. And then whoever was his teammate that year with him is another import. Yeah, we were all out there just having a good time, and slowly, as you do at Oktoberfest, you just kind of slowly lose your group throughout the night because it's crazy.
Chaos. There's so many people. Everyone goes to different
Yeah.
tents, and then there's all the different amusement parks. People go on rides, and then it's easy to get lost in the crowds.
Jimmy and I had our own Baldham Oktoberfest experience too, because that was my first ever Oktoberfest experience, and we were staying probably at the same place that you lived, because we stayed with Matt Lopez, and that was the import.
Oh, yep, it would have been the same place.
And so Jimmy and I were staying there, but it was like a BBJO and SBJO meetup. So there's all these softball and baseball players all came there. Little did we know it's like a 1-bedroom apartment, and there's like 10 of us or 12 of us or something. And so people were just crashed out wherever. And I'm sawing logs like louder than you can believe. And people were throwing stuff at me and everything. So I just went outside and slept in the car. And it was, and then Jimmy came down at like 7:38 in the morning, and we just like, all right, let's drive home.
Yeah, I mean, I think post Oktoberfest, you don't really care too much where you're sleeping. Like, you could sleep on concrete and you wouldn't even notice most of the time.
Yeah, those days are behind me now.
Oh yeah,
I can't do that anymore.
no.
I don't think I can either at that point.
But obviously there was a baseball side to this experience, and
Yeah.
I know Baldham's in the second division, but I know that they're pushing and progressing and have goals within German baseball. So maybe you could just tell us about that experience playing with those guys, and just what it was like.
Yeah, the dudes there, like, super passionate. The three Furbach brothers, like, who all played for Austria and everything. They love baseball and just wanted to keep getting better. And there was just like there's probably like, what was the average age? Probably like 20, 21 on that team. So it was really young, like really tight knit group of guys who've all kind of come up playing together. It's probably one of the few clubs that at the time was training. We had training on every single day of the week in the evening. So it was one of the few ones that probably, like, the goal for them was, yes, we just moved up that year to the second league, but it was, we want to either be in the top half or we want to be moving up to the first league. And it was really cool. Like, the field was brand new. When I got there, I'm just going to put it on my resume that I'm a field builder, since I had to help build that field as well. We were putting together the dugouts and everything, and it was really started to come together. It was just a cool place to play, like out in the middle of like this farmland. And you just, because it was randomly a walking path for people, you just have people randomly start showing up to games that had no idea what baseball was. They just take a seat, have a beer, watch 4 or 5 innings, and then carry on their way. But it was like you kind of grew baseball just by it being close to a walking path. But the baseball, like, there was, like, I think it's a bit slept on in the second league. Like, there's actually a lot of like really good local guys even. And then a lot of the teams imported as well. I know like Louth had 2 as well. They had Mason Quick and Cody Ivy. So I talked to them both quite a bit. And then I think most other teams had 1 or 2 guys as well.
Plus,
So
you
it
have
was-
the Regensburg Academy, which is where there's a
yeah, those
bunch
kids
of
can play.
young European guys who are like their full-time job at that moment is baseball, like living in Regensburg, training at their facilities, and just trying to get as good as possible to go play either college or professional baseball in the States.
There's something to be said about playing on a team of young guys that are all in on baseball, that have really few responsibilities in their life, so they're zoned in, and to be an import in that kind of environment. I think it's something to be said about that as somebody that is looking to play overseas. And when you decide to, sign on with the club, if you find out that there's a team full of young single guys that are ready to have a good, fun time, I'm sure you can vouch for that being an extra cool experience.
Yeah, it made it so much better because it was just like go out with the guys. There was a dude on the team who I think almost at least 3 days a week we were out at the bar. Vale, him and I would just like go because the girl who was the head coach of the softball side of the club and I like shared the apartment and stuff because we were up on the top floor of the place that you guys were at. And so she and I shared that space, and she worked at the bar and just load us up with beers all the time whenever we go down. So like, I think we called it Beer Teufel Tuesdays, just to go down there and just drink until it closed.
Yeah, that's cool. And the reason I bring it up is just because like overseas, there's, you'll have teams where there's a bunch of old guys, like the age discrepancies within one team can be extreme. But if you can get on with the team, kind of like the Ducks in Austria here, that are all early 20s and some late teens, and you're not too far off from that age, it can be a lot of fun, definitely. So
I'm a big Ducks fan. My boy Henry played for them for 2 years. So
Henry,
yeah,
he's
Bayside
great.
boy.
Won the championship with them.
Yeah, 2 years in a row. He wore his shirt the other day. It was while we were playing North Shore and Yodai's with them. So we just, you won the Austrian championship. You don't have to rub it in Yodai's face right now and everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, they built a good culture over there, and now they're building a new indoor facility where they can actually like properly train through the off season, like with different batting tunnels and pitching mounds, and it's like at the field. And that's what I think. I mean, that's what leagues like Czech did, like the Czech Republic. They all like each team has their own indoor facility to train properly through the off season rather than just like practicing in some like basketball hall or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the next step to really like for these developing leagues to really grow is to have some like dedicated like baseball training facilities like the field house in New Zealand where guys can come and like properly work in the off season and lift and like have a proper plan to get better. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Connor. But before we sign off, got to ask you this, as we ask with all of our podcast guests. If you had one piece of advice for a player who's in college contemplating what to do next, what advice would you give him?
Go play overseas. Like, just go have an open mind to what's coming. Just go and enjoy it. Like, find the love that you had for it as a little kid again. You don't have to do the 5 a.m. weights or sprints every morning and stuff again leading up to the season. It's just, and you get to go, like, what other job pays you to go play a kid's game and go see the world? Like, there's no other opportunity like this. Like, it's unbelievable. And like we made the joke when you were out here, the old baseball wives overseas. Who knows? You could end up falling in love and finding your wife.
It's true. It's happened to so many people, like myself and you included, and Dave, and like
all three of us right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so it's life changing, and so all three of us can speak to that, how it can change your life whether you see it coming or not.
And that one decision that you made, Dave, that ended up butterfly effect, just changing thousands of other lives, and all like me, Connor, and the 2,500 other guys who've also traveled to 40 different countries around the world.
Well, this is why I wanted to also reach out to Connor, one, just to kind of catch up, because you've been there a while now. Like, you are a New Zealander, so you're a key.
You're 7.
Yeah, so it's like I wanted to start bringing on some former members, well, always once a member, always a member, but someone that is settled somewhere overseas. And so, because it's, you know, like most of our members who have gone overseas, their experience has changed their life in some capacity. And then there's people like yourself and Jimmy where it's completely flipped it upside down in a good way.
Yeah, it's been probably the best thing I could have ever done. Like, I don't know realistically where I'd be right now. Like, this has been everything I could have asked for and more out of it.
That's awesome to hear.
Perfect. Well, appreciate you hopping on with us and being patient as we reschedule. And then some people are running a little late, and
Some
people, just one guy maybe.
Yeah, one guy.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. This was good. This was fun.